allegiance to the flag of the States of America, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the board, Martin
Zelder.
Kurt McKnight,
DJ Anderson,
Randy Carmody.
Aaron Bear.
There's no agenda revisions this evening. Approval of the board meeting minutes from January 10th.
I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any additions or corrections?
Recording in progress.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, I forgot we have somebody on Zoom too.
Yeah.
Oh, God, close.
Oh, Nicole. Okay. So, student representative report.
Short, sorry. Okay, so before I introduce myself, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be our leadership representative for this meeting today. My name is Sierra Tao. I'm a sophomore here at Sandy High School, and this is my second year doing leadership. Some clubs I am involved with are the Cosmetology Club, the Asian and Pacific Islander Club, as well as the BIPOC and Student Union Club here at Sandy High School. Just recently, we hosted our winter formal on January 21st. Our theme was Aurora Borealis, and it was a major success. We had a total of 550 students that attended, and based off of the feedback that we got from the students, they loved it, and they encouraged us to do more themes that were super successful, like that one. And also, as well as we are already planning out our prom for our seniors and juniors this year. We found out our dates and as well as the venue. It will be at Abernathy Center in Oregon City, and it will be on May 13th. This year we have several new clubs, including the Cosmetology Club, Asian and Pacific Islander Club, as well as the BIPOC Student Union, and our chess club is back. Some events that they have already brought to the school is our BIPOC Student Union brought a multicultural potluck on Monday, February 1st. And our Asian and Pacific Islander Club, they have brought a Lunar New Year celebration on January 31st. And for just school-wide, for Spirit assemblies, and as well as like a Spirit Week to bring more awareness to school. We are bringing back decades, and we hope to kick it off with a nice assembly, and as well as a Spirit Week for each grade to have an individual decade, starting with freshmen with the 70s, sophomores with the 80s, juniors with the 90s, and seniors with the early 2000s. And as well as we are hosting the Dornbecker fundraiser again this year. So hopefully our senior boys this year will do better than last year, and hopefully they'll have more fun as well. These events will happen in March and April. We don't have specific dates yet. However, I can guarantee that we will have more information to update you guys for the next board meeting. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity to speak. And that is all I have for today.
Thank you. Boy, be sure to let us know on that door. I love watching.
I will.
Superintendent's report, Mr. Bear.
Yeah, just one other thing on the student front, our wrestlers dominated at the district meet on Saturday. I think we won by 200 points or something, 200. It was over before the semis, I believe. So I think we got 14 kids maybe going to state. If you're not familiar with wrestling, you have to, if you can fill out a lineup, right, of kids, they give a better shot at winning state. But as I understand it, Newburgh is unbeatable. So we're hoping to beat Roseburg this year. If you know the history, Roseburg's been phenomenal year in, year out. This year we'll be Roseburg Classic a couple times. So a lot of great things happen there with our kids on that. We wanted to just chat with you for bills specifically. Senate education hearing kicked off last week, and there's a lot of bills. In general, is that the actual?
That's the chief scores.
Do you have glasses? Is it 200? Is it? What was close? It's 150.
The final score was Sandy was 458. The next closest was David Douglas at 292.
Oh, I thought that was 52. Yes, 290. So, yeah. So the kids did really well.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. It will be represented really well at state, that's for sure. So the Senate education hearing kicked off, and again, there's a tremendous amount of bills being introduced in both the House and the Senate this year. There are a lot of bills that are going to have a direct impact on public education in some way, shape, or form, and everything that we have heard from our lobbyists is that each one of these bills in some fashion is going to stick. Good, bad, or different. Each one is going to stick in some form or fashion. So there are some folks that, as you've seen over time, all these side accounts of money for public ed, right? Measure 98, SIA stuff, you name the different taxes that have impacted our businesses that go into funding these accounts. Those accounts are starting to become a greater percentage of your total fund balance, right? If our general fund was 58, these are getting close to our about 40 million. And once those kind of eclipse that general fund, then the idea of local control kind of gets washed out in the mix. And so a lot of these bills are also moving in a direction that there's not going to be as much local control as school districts have had in the past. And some of them have to do with special education, others have to do with compliance concerns. And the Oregon Department of Education feels like they have taken a ton of heat. There have been a number of suits that the Oregon Department of Education has been on the wrong side of. And the feeling I get is they're tired of being on the wrong side. And so they want to legislate how that happens differently at the local level and really take a bit more control over that. So we'll see what the ultimate version of these bills is. I know that I got an email today about 1 o'clock and said, hey, we're having an impromptu meeting tomorrow from noon to 1, off the record meeting with the statewide administrative association about one of these bills specifically that there's been some movement on, that they want some folks to have some voices at the state to, I think, to try to slow that movement a bit. So, and that's the first one. It's Senate Bill 819. Modifies school day requirements for students, in particular students in special education. So currently, if a student has if the need is severe enough, and if a modification is required, there's some opportunity there to modify those days so that a student might not go to school the entire 8-hour day. They might go 5 hours a day. They might have parameters put in place so that you can graduate a student from 3-4 hours a day to an 8-hour day to try to stair step some success for that student. The aim is to try to eliminate programs that do modify those days and base those hours on the district that the student resides in. And the reason that is important is because there are a lot of programs across the state that school districts might send their students to that are on a different schedule of the actual resident district. So you might have a program in a neighboring district that services students that might operate on 900 hours, and you operate on 990. So you're going to have to, in some way, shape, or form, try to bridge that gap. And that's a lot of days. We're talking about in instructional hours, if instructional time is about the most it can be in the state of Oregon is 7 hours, then you take out the lunch and 15-minute breaks, and you're at 6. So the max would be 6. So you're looking at well over 10 days, right? So there are definitely some implications. The hope is that it would work better for students. And if you've worked in a building, you know that there are some students whose schedules that they currently in a modified state have worked very, very well for them, have been very successful, right? And found them having the skills necessary to live independent lives and find success out there in the real world. So you don't want to create an environment in which you compel a student to be in a school for 8 hours a day and the stimulus is too much and response then from the student is negative, right? And you can't then mitigate that negative response when you send a kid on a trajectory where the kid can't find success. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Anyway, that's an example of where this is. Senate Bill 821 then would require that superintendents in charge of school districts are responsible for identifying in each IEP if there was a gap, how that gap is being addressed, if SDI was specially designed instruction was being met, if the present level of performance that students are experiencing is demonstrating enough growth. So that's hundreds and hundreds of IEPs that a superintendent would at some point be ultimately responsible for, and making sure that every T was crossed, I dotted. And the volume of work that comes with that in a district our size is immense. I can't imagine what that looks like in North Baptist or the rest of our world. So a lot of administrative costs, adds that are going to create some more complex budgeting cycles for folks, right? To ensure that you meet the basic tenets that the state's requiring. And this is one of those that comes from the state being, finding itself in some legal battles over compliance issues, right? So that then becomes a local concern, but it doesn't give you local control, because you now are compelled by the state to fit into this single box. So, and instead of Bill 290, they want to try to reclarify the duties of the state board, of local boards, etc., and the role of the superintendent of public instruction. And then lastly, Senate Bill 289 directs the Department of Education to determine if schools are standard, non-standard, or they are conditionally standard. That has everything to do with, we've talked about Division 22 plenty, and so based on Division 22 standards, for a high school, you have to have a minimum of 990 instructional hours. A K through 8 now, since we've gone a full day, it's 900 hours. And so you be standard as long as you meet the 990 hours. However, there are some ways to be conditionally standard, right? You can count hours for parent-teacher conferences, you can count hours for professional development and the like. And then there are other conditional exemptions. So if you have 15 snow days, which I think we had one year, right? There are waivers. You can go to the board and say, yeah, we understand. You work with your certified classified folks, try to make up that time any way you can. And the level at which the state finds you standard then is acceptable. So one of the things that has been of concern to the state is the actual amount of seat time that kids are in front of teachers. And there's some belief that this may lead to an increase in actual time in front of teachers. Like I said, the 990 hours is the amount of instructional hours that a high school can have. That doesn't necessarily have to be time right in front of the teacher. That can be built out through other means that the state allows for. There's been some concern recently about schools that are on 4-day weeks. Other folks trying different modified calendars that might fall well below that 990-hour threshold, where kids are right in front of teachers, that then they build up through parent-teacher conferences, professional development with staff, etc. And I think there's a movement afoot for the state to try to eliminate that and or set a threshold such that it's very, very difficult to have those 4-day weeks because of that standardization of the Division 22 seat time. So those are the four that right now I think are out in front as it relates to the finish line. And again, we'll be talking about 819. I'll be in a meeting tomorrow talking about 819. Hope to get some more clarity on how far that bill has come and where that might land. And then we'll know how that will impact us, the kids that might impact, and the amount of programming change that might have to take place. For us right now, the number of students on modified days is really small, given the entire population of our students on IEPs. I believe we have 4 kids like that. And that's right now. That doesn't mean to say that in the past we haven't had more. And it might not necessitate needing more kids to be on modified day in the future, depending on the qualifiers that those students come with. It's just that right now the number is very low. So we would find ways to mitigate that if this bill went into effect, meaning which they don't. This will be a next year thing. So that's where we are on the state of the state. So
Any questions for Aaron? Moving on to the citizens agenda, I'd like to remind the citizens that we don't mention student names or teachers by name. It's not appropriate at this venture. And you have 3 minutes to speak. Josh Fox.
Good evening, everyone. I tend to get up here every month because I just feel that these kids are worth every bit of what the parents put back into these kids. And as growing up in this town and being part of it pretty much my whole life, I've made it a point to make sure I come here and try to make it better. Hearing what I've heard tonight and knowing what I know across the state, what I'm seeing with other parents and what they're dealing with in their school districts, I just hope we don't end up in some of the situations that they are. We have to fight against the Oregon Department of Education. I believe and I'm seeing is turning into a special interest group, and it's forcing things and expenses on our school district and on others that are not needed. And we need to do what we can to fight back against that and not allow that type of stuff to go on. There are things that I have become privy to that are also troubling to me, that these kids are being put into situations and being given education that I don't believe that they're needed right now or at their appropriate age levels and things like that. I think it's being not addressed at the proper and appropriate times, let's say. There's things that have been brought into schools as far as books and things like that I'm now even researching further in our own school district and finding a plethora of books that are not appropriate for our children. And it's very easy for the Department of Education and others to say that it's just a cartoon figure. Well, I'm sorry, but there's things that just don't belong in front of some kids. And I'll just leave it at that. I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you for the comments. Tom Pearsons.
My name's Tom Persons. I'm a 1971 alumni. I've probably lived here since, I know since 1953. My concerns are similar. Basically in 1995, it was pretty much love and let love. 1995. And you go on to they just wanted acceptance. 2005, we just want equality. I have no problem with that. I was raised like that. 2012, bake the cake or go to court. 2015, say my pronouns or lose your job. 2022, 2023, the kids will watch drag shows and have whatever type of gender material that can be available to them. I'm not understanding this, and I'm not saying that that goes on in this school. What I'm saying is that I have concern for this school. I have a lot of backing for this school. What's left? What's next? Okay, what's next? I know they're working on legalizing pedophilia. That's what's next. They're talking about stuff like that. It's unheard of. So that's about all I got to say, and I hope you guys can stand up to these people. I hope you have the chutzpah. It's coming, and it's here. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to certified staff.
Allison, I wasn't.
Classified staff, generally doesn't show. Consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so moved.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. There are no action items, information and discussion, statement of economic interest.
Yeah, so in 2023, this year, the SDI, the Statement of Economic Interest for board members becomes mandatory. So elected officials that work for public entities and or in positions in which they can violate the standard of ethics by receiving monies, by commingling monies, by deferring costs, personal expenses in return for some favor, whether in the workplace and or on the personal front. I have to fill out a statement of economic interest. And so this has been expanded to school board members as well. I'll send you a link to Oregon.gov where you can find out all about it. What will happen is they'll send you a link in March to go and fill out the SEI. I do it every year. There's never really had any concern myself in filling it out. But it is things like, have you been in receipt of a gift of over X? Has there ever been a time in which you know where you've received monies, work, etc., right? In lieu of and or for some other reason that would cause a conflict on the job, those types of, or in this role. For me, it's on the job. So it is, I suppose it's a good thing. It's one more thing for members to.
It also includes direct family members.
Yep. It's deep. It's deeper than.
Yes,
than I'm
it's just not just one. It's a group.
Yeah.
And your spouse, your kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
If
I've done it for another position.
yeah, if and I don't think anybody falls under this category, but it would be a matter of did your child receive, like, was he on in this case on a sports team or right? And so if you do have questions, once I send you a link, don't hesitate to ask. There are trainings that the state puts out that you can go to. You can watch, there's videos, there are manuals that you can read.